This happened like 20 years ago, so the details are a bit hazy. I was in middle school. I lived in an upper middle class neighborhood in a little New England town with virtually no crime. I had just started babysitting, had just taken a whole babysitting course at a local hospital, and after putting up some flyers, I got my first gig. It was at a house in my neighborhood, about a 5-minute walk from my house. They had an older girl who was maybe 8 or 9 and a younger toddler-age boy. Their mom was giving me a rundown of their routine and giving me a little tour of their house. We went into her son's bedroom and she said something to the effect of,
That's odd. I wonder why his window is open."
quickly shut the window and seemed somewhat distracted from that point on. She hurried through the rest of the tour and then told me to go hang out with the kids while she finished getting ready. About 2 minutes later, she hurries in, sort of hustles out the door and outside. I'm pretty confused at this point, but being an awkwardly shy middle school aged girl, I just go along with it. Once we get to the driveway, she pulls me aside and tells me that she went back into her bedroom after noticing the window was open and saw that most of her jewelry was missing. Soon after telling me this, about 10 cop cars come flying in. Cops run out with their guns drawn. The whole works. Cops tell me to leave, so I head home, pretty terrified. Turns out the burglar, who had broken in the night before, was still hiding in the son's closet, right next to where we were standing when the mom realized the window was open and something was off. Don't really like to imagine how that could have gone had she not noticed the window open and left me there for the night with her 2 kids. I was 11 and babysitting for our neighbor who was going through a nasty divorce. She had 2 sons who were 8 and 1. She leaves on her date and says she'll be back around midnight. She doesn't tell me where she's going, and I have no way to contact her because it's the 80s and no one has cell phones. I'm watching TV. The boys are asleep. Everything's fine. Suddenly, there's a knock on the door. Then banging and drunken cursing.
"Cheryl, you fucking whore, I know you're in there. Open the fucking door."
I'm frozen looking at the door when the oldest boy comes flying down the stairs and runs to the door yelling, "Daddy's home." I grab him and pull him away from the door. By this time, the ex-husband has gone to his truck to get his gun to teach that whore a lesson. He's banging on the door and threatening to start shooting through it if no one opens it. I grab both kids and run out the back door and across the street to my house, where my mom calls the police. When the police arrive a few minutes later, they find the ex-husband taking a massive shit on Cheryl's porch. He gets arrested, and I wait up with the kids at my house for their mom to show up. Cheryl shows up, is totally unfazed by the story, and doesn't even pay me because she lost her wallet at the restaurant. When I was a preteen, I babysat a lot. Once I was babysitting 2 sisters. One was about 6 and the other was an infant. The 6-year-old was down the street at a birthday party, and the baby and I were just chilling watching TV. The parents were off at a movie, and about 30 minutes after they left, there was a knock at the door. I got up and looked through the small window in the door to see this dude in a shirt with an XL energy tag and a clipboard. He gives me this talk about checking a gas meter in the basement. I had this instinctual gut feeling that something was wrong, and tell him that I'm the babysitter. Give me a minute, and I'll call the parents to see if they forgot to tell me about an appointment. So I head to the kitchen to get the phone and call up the mom. I also checked to make sure the back door was locked. She starts freaking out and assures me they didn't have an account with XL, and tells me they're leaving the theater immediately. I go back to the door and explain that I won't be letting him in. He starts getting pushy with me and telling me that it's really important and a safety issue, etc. I didn't see an XL Energy van or car on the street out front, and I'm beginning to get nervous. Luckily, the parents called a neighbor who showed up and demanded the guy to leave the property. The guy ran off and walked around the corner, so we didn't get a vehicle description. A few days later, the parents were telling me about a similar guy who had gone to neighbors and tried doing the same thing. I was about 14. We lived in military housing, and there was a new couple with 2 kids. They had only been there a week or so, and the mom was showing me around with the 3-month-old baby in her arms. I was a little worried. 3 months was the youngest baby I'd ever babysat. They were going to their welcoming event for a couple of hours, and it was right there on base though, so not far. What could go wrong? What went wrong was at the top of the staircase. As her 3-year-old called her, she was following me down. A strap on her sandal broke, and she suffered a catastrophic fall, taking me out as she toppled, dropping the baby in her arms. Well, I'm not sure how it happened, as I'm not exactly famous amongst my friends for my grace. But as I was being bulldozed over, I reached up and snatched the baby out of the air and held her up high as we all fell. I ended up with a black eye and some bruises where the mom essentially tackled me. The baby was completely unscathed. The mom, however, she ended up with an open fracture on one leg, right above her knee, and a decent concussion. She didn't act as if anything hurt at all though. She just kept on,
You saved my baby. You saved my baby.
as the dad called the ambulance. I think they paid me $200 for a 4-hour gig that night, which in 1987 wasn't too shabby at all. But I don't think my pulse slowed down for a week. I pretty much stopped babysitting shortly after that, because it freaked me out so much. Not just the event, but word getting around that I was like some superhero with cat-like reflexes, when I'm pretty sure that if that happened again, I couldn't grab that baby if I tried.